Synced. Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Attorney of the Arcane. Last episode I pressed everything and that somehow got us nowhere. So now let's try to figure out where we're supposed to present something. Which I have a feeling is this part, but I'm not sure what to present.
Objection!
Yeah, that's not gonna work.
Objection!
Okay, found it. Miss Frege, if I recall correctly, you have a habit of getting absorbed in your work. So much so that you'll even lose track of the time of day. Yes, but what does that have to do with my testimony? Earlier in today's proceedings, the prosecutor made the following argument. Our first witness saw Bellwether leave the meeting with the headmaster. That would time this encounter around 1 p.m. Miss Frege, if you had said good morning to the professor, you would have been mistaken. Because that encounter could only have happened in the afternoon. And your point is? You said it yourself, Mr. Cuthbert. The witness simply lost track of time. What the witness said isn't what's important here. The significance is in what the professor said in response. She had just come out of a meeting that was scheduled for noon. She would be well aware that it was no longer morning. So why would she respond good morning? Reflex, maybe? Wouldn't she have corrected the witness? Their encounter was extremely short, and the victim's mind may have been preoccupied. She could have easily responded to the witness without thinking. I'm going to be honest, I kind of agree with her. It's hard to believe that they were both confused about the time. It's definitely a stretch. But you can't shake the feeling that she's hiding something. Every time you ask her about how Bellwether acted that day, the eye picks up something up. There has to be something there. Miss Frege, you haven't been entirely truthful in your testimony, have you? That's absurd. What reason would I have to lie? It's such a small detail. Why does he even care? Every detail about how she acted is important, Miss Frege. What aren't you telling us? Mr. Cuthbert, you have no basis to accuse the witness of perjury. Yes, you will stop this at once. Miss Frege, you're lying about how Bellwether responded to your greeting, aren't you? It doesn't make a difference. All she did was yell at me. All she did was yell. Miss Frege, is it possible that Bellwether's response was less than friendly? Well, what do you care? What difference does it make? Why is he being so persistent? My job is to make sure every part of your testimony is truthful. And every detail matters, no matter how seemingly insignificant. Mr. Cuthbert, you will stop this, or I will find you in contempt. The professor yelled at you, didn't she, Miss Frege? So what if she did? I mean... I'm sorry, but there's no going back on what you said just now. So, you admit it. She yelled at you. Ugh, you impertinent little... Yes, I admit it, the professor didn't greet me back that day. Oh, good morning, Professor. Be quiet. She yelled at me to be quiet. But, until then, we had always been nothing but courteous with each other. I don't know what got into her that day, but something put her in a foul mood. But that's it. Everything else I said was the truth. They'll believe me, right? I did see her come out of the headmaster's office and walk towards the library. That part is true. So, she wasn't lying about that. So, is that all, Mr. Cuthbert? What do you mean, is that all? You badgered the witness. All so you could prove what exactly? The witness committed perjury. The witness changed a small detail of her testimony. Oh, screw you. A detail that is inconsequential to the case. No, it ain't. It was clearly an act with no malicious intent. If that's the case, why did the game let me do that? Or rather, why did the game force me to do that? After seeing her thoughts, it's hard to disagree with that. You were so sure that the eye would lead you somewhere. But Frege was only lying to save face. The witness saw the victim leave the headmaster's office and head towards the library. Do you have any concrete evidence to refute that, Mr. Cuthbert? No, I suppose I don't. Well, wait, is this really okay? At this rate, this will be the only chance you have to cross-examine her. I don't think she's lying anymore. And I was really pushing my luck earlier. If I continue pressing her, the judge might actually charge me with contempt. But if Miriam isn't the one that's lying, then the defense has no further questions for the witness, Miss Steelwind. The prosecution stays silent for a while. She almost looks disappointed. Very well, Miriam, you are dismissed. Miriam still looks like she's fuming, but she leaves the room without protest. The judge breathes a sigh of relief as the young noble is escorted out of the room. Now with that out of the way, what else do you have, Mr. Cuthbert? The only way to refute the prosecutor's theory is to cast doubt on one of the witnesses. If it wasn't Miriam, then Steelwind, to test your theory, we must question every witness that saw the victim that day. So, with that said, the defense would like to call Jane Hughes to the stand. I hope you understand, Mr. Cuthbert. Your case rests on the assumption that one of the witness accounts is incorrect. If your cross-examination of Mr. Hughes leads nowhere, then I hope you're ready to concede. You don't like the sound of it, but she's right. Unless you can find something in Jane's testimony, you won't really have anything to disprove her fury. Bailiff, please bring in Mr. Hughes. Witness, please state your name and occupation for the courtroom. Witness, name and occupation. Right. My name is Jan Hughes. I'm on the cleaning staff of the Academy. Mr. Hughes, please testify to the court about your encounter with the professor that day. Sure. He really doesn't want to be here. I saw the professor when I was cleaning the West Wing hallways. It was about 20 to 30 minutes before the body was discovered. She walked by me, but she looked pretty out of it. I heard she was undead when this happened. Pretty creepy if you ask me. After that, we went to the empty classroom. Well, that was straightforward. Come on, Jen, what are we supposed to do with that? I don't know, you guys are the lawyers. He has a point. I'm just telling you what I saw. Mr. Cuthbert, you may begin your cross-examination. Okay, let's cross-examine the janitor who definitely doesn't want to be here. How are you so sure that it was 30 minutes before? I always check the time to make sure I'm on schedule. I was supposed to finish cleaning the halls by 3 p.m. Right, the body was discovered at 3:04. What was the professor like, Mr. Hughes? She walked by me, but she looked pretty out of it. Did anything else look off about her? I mean, yeah, she wasn't undead after all. That remains to be proven. If you say so. Anyways, what was her demeanor like? She looked like she was in a bad mood. Either that or she was tired. But I guess she was just dead inside, literally. I believe you've forgotten a few details about what the professor did. Yeah. Sorry, it's hard to remember these things sometimes. Which detail should you ask him for? Did she touch anything? Did she make any sounds? Did she do anything to you? Oh yeah, she knocked over a vase and shattered it. It might have been an accident, but she's done stuff like that on purpose before. This detail could be extremely important. Please add it to your testimony. Whatever you say, man.
Objection!
Right. Well,
Objection!
okay, maybe did she do anything to you? Okay. No mess.
Objection!
Yeah. So if it's not that, then... like, one of these spells...
Objection!
like, if she was undead and there was an illusion... okay, oh, hold on. Cannot speak.
Objection!
There we go. Mr. Hughes, you said that Bellwether yelled at you. What were her exact words? I think she yelled at me to be quiet. What? I thought it was weird. I didn't even say anything. But I know better than to talk back to her. That's the thing, Hughes. The prosecution's theory is as such. The professor was murdered in the library and was reanimated using animate corpse. With a quick illusion spell, no one would notice that she was undead. However, if what you saw was truly the undead Bellwether, how did she speak to you? Huh? This doesn't make any sense. Mr. Hughes, the undead can follow simple orders, but they don't have the intelligence to speak. Perhaps the witness was mistaken. No, I'm sure I heard her yell at me. I remembered because what she said didn't make any sense. Exactly. He didn't say anything. He didn't say anything, but she still yelled at him to be quiet. Wait a minute. I'm afraid I don't understand. We've already established that the victim was dead long before her encounter with Mr. Hughes. But if what he saw wasn't an undead, what was it? It had to be an undead. What other explanation is there? It couldn't have been a major illusion. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been able to shove Jan or knock over the vase. Perhaps it was someone whatever it was, someone probably used illusory disguise to make it look like Bellwether. Does that mean it was a person? No. If it was a person, how did Bellwether's body end up in the lecture hall? Bellwether wouldn't have been able to turn herself invisible if she was dead. And whatever Jan saw, it needs to have been something that could have transported Bellwether's body unseen. It would have also needed to have a mass and the ability to speak. What created Bellwether's voice? Or at the very least, it needs to be something that can recreate Bellwether's voice. What could have done that? Arcane constructs. That's it. Do you have an answer for us, Mr. Cuthbert? What did the witness actually say? Your Honor, the witness didn't actually hear the dead victim speaking. What he actually heard was her voice being recreated using magic. Are you trying to say that her voice was recreated using a spell? Not a spell, Steelwind. It was artificery. And whoever the murderer is, they had the perfect piece of artificery available to them. One programmed with Catherine Bellwether's voice. You can't possibly mean. That's right, Steelwind. What Mr. Hughes saw was an arcane construct. An arcane construct? Think of it as a magically animated suit of armor, Your Honor. But we ruled out such a possibility, hadn't we? Construct or not, no one could disguise themselves and carry the body to the classroom. A person wouldn't have been able to do it. But arcane constructs are a different thing entirely. The suits of armor are extremely large, but more importantly, they're hollow. I see. That means theoretically someone could have placed the victim's body inside it. The arcane construct wouldn't just teleport the body. With an illusory disguise, it would also confuse and mislead anyone who saw it. Did I read teleport? Did I read transport as teleport? I did.
Objection!
I commend your deduction, Mr. Cuthbert. I would have never considered that possibility. It's certainly plausible, but what does this prove exactly? It proves that the body wasn't animated using necromancy. My client isn't the murderer. The defendant is still capable of performing all of the acts that you described. His compendium contains illusory disguise, after all. There were several students in the library that day. Any of them could have committed the murder. One might come to that conclusion if they didn't have one crucial piece of evidence. I'd like to present a new piece of evidence to the court. From under her table, you see Miss Steelwind pull out the bloody rapier. Blood. Is that? Yes, Your Honor. This is the murder weapon. Ugh, she was saving that for the perfect moment, wasn't she? This rapier was stolen by Miriam Frake weeks before the murder? Wait, what? Don't you mean it was stolen from her? And during the investigation, it was finally found in the defendant's locker. Well, wait. He was clearly trying to use one of her possessions in a paltry attempt to frame her. Why, he even stole her locker's nameplate and placed it over his. Damn it, that's not what happened. But, honestly, it sounds more plausible than what really took place. We're back to square one, aren't we? Anyone could have told that construct to do all those things. Wait, anyone? Is that really true? The construct transported the professor's body, and someone used an illusion to make it look like her. They even used a pre-recorded voice to make the illusion more convincing. Who ordered the construct to hide the body? Could anyone have done that? Could anyone have done that? No, that's not right. The constructs are available to students, but not all of their functions are enabled. Who would have every function available to them? Right. Okay, what do I present? I know I'm supposed to present something, but... Yeah, I'm at a loss again. Okay, found it. Several memories flood back to you. Mr. Hughes, you said that Bellwether yelled at you. What were her exact words? I think she yelled at me to be quiet. She yelled at me to be quiet. But until then, we had always been nothing but courteous to each other. I don't know what got into her that day, but something put her in a foul mood. Be quiet. Sorry. Be quiet. The construct's voice is just a series of pre-recorded messages. I'm not sure if you noticed, but it uses the voice of Professor Bellwether. Unfortunately, you can't make them say anything other than what's recorded. Only the headmaster can change those settings. No, it can't be him. What is it, Tyrion? Did you figure something out? I did. But is he seriously the one behind all of this? Miss Steelwind, earlier you said that my client couldn't have... could have orchestrated this entire ruse. But that's simply not true. How so? Anyone could have ordered the construct to carry out the victim's body. Yes, but not everyone can change what the constructs are able to say. Only one individual has the credentials for that. Theodore Redmond, headmaster of the Imperial Academy. Wait, you're not serious, are you? You think the headmaster did all this? I don't want to believe it. But there's only one person who could have done it. That's completely ridiculous. Headmaster Redmond would never do something like this. Miss Steelwind, there is one common element between each of the witnesses' encounters with Bellwether. It's what Bellwether said to them. She yelled at both of them to be quiet. Miriam Frege was particularly surprised. She had a good relationship with the professor, but when greeted by the professor, Bellwether just shouted at her. Almost as if the professor was responding indiscriminately. And recall her encounter with Jan Hughes. The professor knocked over a vase and immediately shouted at him to be quiet, even though he hadn't said anything. She was responding to the sound of the vase breaking. Now, let me ask you this, Steelwind. Where did Bellwether come from before she encountered Miss Frege and Mr. Hughes? Her meeting with the headmaster. It appears that the defense truly means to indict Theodore Redmond. If so, we have no choice but to take a brief recess until he can be brought here. And on that note, we'll be ending this episode here. If you liked it, leave a like, a comment, and a subscribe. And stay tuned for more. See ya.